What is up, everybody? Skratch here. Welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. We have Ash on the channel today, guys. We're gonna finish what we started ages ago, reviewing all the epic champions for you. What's up, Ash? How are you doing, buddy? Nice to have you here.
Skratch, thanks for having me, man. It's been about 2 months. We figured we'd leave the people waiting, leave them hanging. Let's do part 2.
Exactly. I feel like it's always better when you're waiting for it and you want to see it.
I'm sure they're all on the edge of their seats. Yeah, guaranteed, guaranteed.
Oh, well, I hope so, guys. Hopefully you're enjoying it, because we're about to review the last few factions that we have left in here. But first, guys, we actually recorded the video on Ash's channel, so make sure you guys head over. I will be leaving the link in the description down below and in the pinned comments, so make sure you guys go check it out. So we went all the way to the Skinwalkers. We had left the Orcs and all the factions that are going down from there. So we're gonna review all the epic champions, guys, except the void ones, okay? We're gonna keep that for a different video where we're gonna review all the epics. I feel like we gotta give them the right attention rather than just be super quick on them. You know, these videos can take a very long time, if you remember the last one, but we're gonna try to keep this one shorter. So we're gonna start here with Ultimate Galeck. If you wanna go first, Ash, you wanna tell us a bit about the champion?
Yeah, sure. Ultimate Galeck, I've never been, I feel like people are a big fan of this dude or not a big fan of this dude. And unfortunately, I fall a little bit in the latter camp. I'm not a huge fan of Ultimate Galeck. He was the Amazon Prime Battle Pass, or no, he was the Amazon Prime just free champion that we got along with Whisper and Tuok the Wanderer and somebody who I'm forgetting, I think, Vala. But Ultimate Galeck was, I would say, is kind of middle of the road, right? If you need a good HP burner for spiders, he's solid, provided that you have, there's stipulations. He needs to have increased attack. Other than that, I think that he scales off pretty quickly. Ultimate Galeck, I would say average.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that, honestly. I can't say anything else different than that.
Some people love him. Some people love him, man. But I think he's just average.
I think so too. Then we have Duck the Pierced. I do think he's a very solid champion. Now, if it would be to quickly compare him with Stag Knight, I find Stag Knight better just because he doesn't need to have that crit rate, and we have a decreased speed on the A1. And I feel like he needs less books. This guy likes to read quite a bit. I have him on my free-to-play account. I like having that AoE defense down, decrease attack, decrease accuracy on the A1, double hitter. I can run him on the Fire Knight. I don't like his aura as much. Pretty good base stats. I feel like he's one of the top epics in the game. Not top 10, but definitely one of the top epics in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that I'd rather have the decreased speed than the decreased accuracy on the A1, so I also would prefer Stag Knight. Stag Knight also, I think, like 10 speed faster, which is helpful on a debuffer. And I don't love that his decreased defense is predicated on critical hits. Again, comes down to that affinity as well. With all that said, though, he is one of the better epics. So I sound like I'm hating, but he's a great champion.
Definitely. What do you think about Old Hermit Jorg?
I think he's also a great champion, a good addition to the game. An Orc Reviver, Epic Reviver, has a good revive, solid revive, a 5-turn cooldown, but we have a 40% turn meter fill and Perfect Veil on 2 random allies. He also has an increased attack, which is normal on a lot of these revivers or these kind of flex support champions, but he has a turn meter fill as well, which I like as well, and he's pretty fast, and he has an HP burn on the A1 at a 40% land rate, so I think that overall he's doing a lot. For a reviver, I like him. He's unique.
Yeah, definitely is a good one. I wish his revive would be on a 4-turn cooldown, though.
Me too. Me too.
Torture Helm. He can solo Dragon 20. He can do some other crazy stuff, but mediocre. He's a bit underrated, but I still feel like he's kind of like mediocre as a champion. He revives this champion with 50% of the HP when killed. The A2 attacks one enemy, damage proportional to this champion's max HP. Nothing crazy here. Or if you have more allies dead, he can be pretty good. But other than that, he just doesn't do much. So I would like to see this champion buffed a bit, honestly.
Me too. I'll put him slightly in the below average category myself. All right, Zargala, a legacy champion, one of the faces of Raid Shadow Legends, Skratch. An OG. I do think she's been power crept just a little bit on the A3, seeing as it has a 4-turn cooldown. It's a pretty dependable rate, though, because it's hitting 3 times. And she puts out a ton of damage, too. She's a nuker and she's like the OG version of nuker and DPS in one character. So overall, still a big fan of Zargala, still a dragon monster, still a monster anywhere you need a force affinity debuffer and some damage along with it.
Definitely. She's the reason why I started playing this game, guys. I've seen her in an ad and I clicked.
Did you have a crush on Zargala, Skratch?
Maybe like a small one ages ago, you know.
Got you.
Blood Feather.
Right. Blood Feathers.
Yeah, rather
So
than being used for the fusion, I don't feel her. I don't know.
Blood Feather is supposed to be like a single target high damage dealer with a, what is it, extra place. Okay, so she has decreased defense on a single target. Dude, she's not good. She's not good. Not crazy multipliers. She can deal a decent amount of damage, but for single target damage dealers, you need to bring more to the table than just a little bit of damage and maybe a decreased defense as well for me.
And pretty squishy as well, yeah. She has good base attack, but that's about it, honestly.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
I'll pass. I'll pass.
Buff.
Yeah, buffer.
Bonekeeper.
Trash. Now, I'm not a big fan of a Bonekeeper, really. She's not awful. I kid around with trash. Does have the decreased defense on the A1, which is nice to have. She deals a lot of damage to single targets again, but for me, I want a little bit more. She does have the turn meter of all allies, but if it kills an enemy on a 4-turn cooldown, buff is my call her here.
Yeah, she needs a bit of a buff. She hits pretty hard. I actually tested her. She does need a bit of a buff because she just doesn't do enough, you know? Definitely.
Yes.
Shaman. Poor Shaman.
Yeah. You want me to go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Trash.
Trash.
I mean, you could say that she has good base stats, which she does. She has good base stats. But, you know, a Reviver used to be a very special thing in the very beginning of Raid Shadow Legends. There wasn't that many Revivers in the game compared to nowadays, certainly. And a lot of people relied on her as their main Reviver in the early and the mid game. But now I feel like really early on, you can get your hands on a much better Reviver. So I see people more often wasting their resources on Shaman, whereas she's not bringing much to the table outside of a 5-turn mediocre revival.
Definitely, I gotta agree with you. Terror
All
Beast.
right, we agree.
Terror Beast. Now, this champion, I'll take him. I can't even remember exactly what he does. But honestly, reflex
He's
damage.
the guy who's annoying an Ice Golem 20 with a reflex.
Exactly, yeah. And that's about it. That's about it.
Right?
The A3 doesn't do much. We have a stun here if the target survives. Fully heals the champion if the target is killed by the attack. The aura is good because it's for all the battles. Decent base stats. He's a bit slow, low defense, but I still feel like he needs just a bit of a buff because that reflect damage doesn't do much in the game, you know? Either reward that, maybe he might become a good champion, you know? Rask.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think about...
man. Well, I think he's a great healer, man. I think he's still a little bit underrated because he's kind of old school, but that doesn't mean he's trash. It means he's still really good, especially for progression in this game, right? You need a healer. Put Vrask in a curing set. See the healing that he can do is pretty insane. But Vrask is just a really dependable healer. I'd argue probably, you know, top 5 just in terms of sheer heals in the game.
Yeah, definitely. He's very, very powerful on the hill. Same like with Lugan, for example. The Lego version, kind of, they run the same.
Yes.
He's a solid reviver, though. I like Rask. Sentinel Survivor. Ooh, she is a very powerful champion, though. She hits pretty decent as well. We have the ally defense in all battles, pretty good base stats. And we have this skill, very unique. Attacks all enemies, decreases the duration of all buffs, and increases the duration of buffs. And we have the passive, which makes her even more unique. Places a 50% ally protection when the HP of the ally drops below 50, and places a block damage on this champion. So I really think she's super awesome as an epic champion.
I agree. The block damage so much better than unkillable on a champion like this, right? So she maintains her HP, her whatever that is. And I underrated the Endless Sands ability for a long time, like personally, you know, like I knew it was good, obviously, but just for clan boss especially, and she has that aura too for clan boss. But for clan boss, decrease the duration of enemy buffs. That's cool, whatever. But increase the duration of all ally buffs is going to allow you to get those shields, those block debuffs, those increased defense, whatever. It's going to allow you to have them up all the time on your team, essentially, because it's going to be extending those 3-turn cooldowns to essentially 2-turn cooldowns vis-a-vis like the duration increase of the buffs themselves. So Endless Sands, really, really good ability, kind of a mini Krisk ability. Overall, a tremendous champion.
Absolutely. Then we have... That's it.
Demon Spawn.
That's it. We're moving over. Right. We're moving over from here because that's here look nasty at me.
Yeah.
And we have on the Demon Spawn, Allure. You want to start with this, or I'm going?
Yeah. She's a turn meter specialist. What else is there to say about her? She's so unique. She's hitting 3 separate times, each hit decreasing target's turn meter by 25%, which is handy too because it doesn't apply to those, turn meter restriction, abilities on the new bosses. She's still just the best in terms of Fire Knight, S tier against a lot of bosses. Anybody that's susceptible to turn meter control.
Absolutely amazing for the Doom Tower, for the Dark Fate boss. I love her, and she looks awesome as well. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of looking awesome, but maybe not being awesome, I don't know.
I mean, I think she's all in one. She's like a full package. But then we have Excruciator.
Oh no, yeah, I was talking about Excruciator, not Allure.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
I think she looks awesome. Excruciator.
She does, yeah, kind of like a mini Krutraxa.
Yeah, it's the Krutraxa vibes here.
She's not that great, man. She got buffed a bit. Her base stats are not amazing. She does have a pretty good base attack. But single target,
yeah,
she doesn't do that much, honestly. I feel like she needs a bit of a rework. Then,
Buffer again, a rework, yeah. Akot the Seared?
Yeah.
I think he's a great option for Spider, He's, I think he's probably the best champion for HP burn on Spider 24, which is the most optimal place in terms of your energy efficiency to farm on Spider. Outside of that, I haven't really used him in many areas, but I wouldn't say he's a trash champion, but maybe just an average champion outside of Spider where he's like S tier.
Yeah, I gotta say it. I haven't used him personally. I have him at 60, but I find no use other than the Spider. Then we have Irenaeus, or Irenaeus, whatever you say her name. She's kind of average. Like, some people love her because of the A1, 100% chance fully booked to place a poison for 2 turns, which is not awesome. But then we have the A3, 100% chance of increasing the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. And on the A3, single target block buffs debuff for 2 turns, and ally accuracy in dungeons by 70 on the aura. I think she's just average, below average, I would say. Actually, she definitely needs a bit of a rework. Show her some love, Plarium,
I agree. Soul Drinker. I actually really, really like Soul Drinker, Skratch. I think he's a really cool champion. He's one of my favorite bomb champions in the game. Bomb champions don't get a lot of love, even despite Bommel supposedly giving these champions a little bit of a, spotlight, or an opportunity, I should say. But he has decreased bomb detonation. He has this A2, attacks 3 times at random, decreasing bomb detonations again. But this A3 here, Magma Blast, is on a 3-turn cooldown, and each hit attacks all enemies 2 times, each hit with a 100% chance of placing a bomb. So a 3-turn detonation on those bombs, but he does have the, again, like we said, decrease in the detonations. And when he dies, he places 2 more bombs that detonate after 2 rounds on all the enemies. Cool thing about him is he deals a lot of damage just without the bombs. So then you add the bombs to the equation, he can be a good progression champion for like harder waves, right? Like all these super high HP waves in Doom Tower and in higher level 21 through 25 dungeons. He can help you out there. He has Force Affinity as well if you need a Force Affinity nuker. That being said, his upside is a little capped, seeing as how bombs are just not meta. So that's really on Plarium.
Yeah, definitely. Bombs, they're just not doing enough damage. Even the buff War Mama, she's just not cutting it,
Nope.
Nazana. She's kind of like average and a bit over average. We do have the A1 AoE, which is good on a stun set for faction wars if you need it. The A2, ally protection on all allies, a shield buff on the champion for 2 turns. And the A3 AoE decrease attack, but is on a 3-turn cooldown, and is only a 75% chance to land it, So she has good base stats. I still feel like she's not one of the most used epic champions, and she's not the epic champion that you want to go for overall, but she's a bit above average in my opinion.
Yeah, I used her for, I forgot where, a secret room. I built her kind of recently, and I actually was impressed with her. The awkward thing about her, though, is she's an HP-based champion who has Ally Protect, and she has 2 AoE attacks based on attack, with a very, very low attack. So I think they need to rework that, make her an HP. If she's an HP-based champion, make the damage based on HP. And if you want to, make the multipliers a little bit smaller, then so be it. But I think she needs a rework in that, extent. But other than that, in a stun set, with the decreased attack, with the 2 AoEs, with the Ally Protect, I think she's a very serviceable champion.
Definitely.
Infernal Baroness. I actually used her way in the early days of Faction Wars to complete Demon Spawn. because she has that heal on the A1 and an AoE. But really, it's about stun set again with Infernal Baroness. Two or three active abilities, but one's a perfect veil for 3 turns. I thought it granted an extra turn. Must be thinking of another champion. But either way, the A1 and the A2 are both AoE attacks. She also has a decreased attack, but her damage is based on defense, which is handier, easier to keep her alive. And I put her in that stun set, helped me out a lot in Faction Wars.
Definitely, she's a stun set champion. She's pretty decent. Same like Nazana as well. Tainix Hate Flower. Now, I've been using her in Faction Wars. I feel like she's such a good healer if you don't have a Duchess, for example. If you don't have another Reviver or anything to help your team there. We have the decreased speed on the A2. And then with the A1, heals all allies by 3% of this champion's HP with each hit on targets under decreased speed. So this actually can provide you a pretty solid heal for Faction Wars, guys. Now, rather than that, I don't know if I would use her anywhere else, honestly.
I'm the same boat. I didn't have Duchess, so I relied on her as my main healer and support, I guess, through Faction Wars. So I use stun. I use a lot of stun on Demon Spawn, obviously with the Infernal Baroness. And then I use Tainix as my support champion. So she's kind of a trashy champion, except for Faction Wars if you don't have Duchess. So
Exactly.
You know. Achak the Wenderin. Man, this guy is very unique. Or this guy?
I'm not even sure.
Skratch?
I'm not sure, honestly.
This thing, this sentient being, is pretty cool. A lot of books on the A1 and the A3, at least only one book on the A2. Has the block debuffs, has the strengthen, a nice buffer for your team, but really, it's all about, for me, it's all about, he has the freeze, or she has the freeze on a 3-turn cooldown, or the HP burn, depending on what's higher, their defense or the attack. But really, once you have those freezes or HP burns on your team, even outside of Achak, it's going to have tremendous synergy with the Twisted Hunger passive, where you get the heals or the turn meter increase, which can really exponentially do some magical things, especially on Spider. I use Achak and Mordecai as like a tandem on Spider 25, and just tremendous, like how fast we can bleed through that Spider. So pretty cool Spider champion. I would say average to slightly above average support champion outside of Spider.
Yeah, he's definitely pretty good for the Spider. Very interesting champion. I kind of agree with you. He's a bit average rather than other than the Spider, you know.
Yep.
Hal Gaza. Now, this is a champion that I feel like she needs a bit of a buff. I'm seeing her in campaign all the time, but single target on the A1, small chance of landing that defense down. Removes all debuffs on the A2, increase attack, grants an extra turn, and the A3 attacks all enemies. On each critical hit, fills the champion's turn meter by 10. So she doesn't do much. I honestly never use this champion, ever, guys. And might be a reason why, you know? I feel like she needs a bit of love as well.
I agree with you. I think she needs some love. She's been power crept a little bit. Tarshan, I think he's a really solid champion, actually. He has a provoke on his A1. He has an AoE weaken on a 3-turn cooldown. Damage based on defense. He does pretty solid multipliers as well. And then he has increased defense as well with a turn meter fill of 20%. Only bad news is on a 4-turn cooldown instead of a 3. If it was a 3-turn cooldown, he'd be like one of the better epics in the game. He has a strengthen buff on the chamber 2 turns if the HP drops below 50%. Not a game-changing or passive, but a nice one to have. I think that overall, just a very solid above average champion.
Yeah, he can actually work pretty good for Faction Wars as well. And if you pair him with a red champion, which, where is she? Marquez or whatever you say her name, they're going to be a very good combo. Then we have Golos Helmo. I'm actually missing this one on my account. But on the A1, attacks one enemy 2 times, fills the turn meter if the target is under defense down or HP burn or decreased accuracy. On the A2, we have on a 3-turn cooldown, defense down AoE. And the A3 attacks one enemy, 100% chance to land HP burn, and a 50% decreased accuracy debuff for 3 turns. But that's only on one enemy. That AoE defense down is not that bad, honestly. Not that bad.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that I actually have not built him myself, but I see him being used on a lot of like secret rooms and stuff like that. So I think he might be able to be doing a decent amount of damage as well. But I haven't confirmed that personally.
Same. His base stats, they don't look amazing, but...
No. Might have good multipliers. Speaking of good multipliers, Magnar. I love Magnar, man. I just said it in the video that we did as well on my channel, but this guy is just one of my favorite epics in the game. This A2 deals a ton of damage with an extra hit as well. It's really Trunda-esque, not as much damage as Trunda, but he can really serve as your main arena nuker. And the good thing about him is that he is different affinity than a lot of nukers in Spirit Affinity, and he is defense or HP based. So you can build him as kind of a go second team nuker, or you can just build him as a tanky nuker on your team. So overall, I think he's a really high damage dealing champion. Recent addition to the game. Big fan of him.
He kicks ass, honestly. Trunda is the queen of arena. He's the king in terms of damage. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome champion.
Did you see a lot of him the last like week or two or whatever in Platinum, or not really?
Probably a lot of people are using. I'm personally using him on daily basis.
Okay.
3v3 classic arena against all those teams with force champions. He's definitely the champion to go with, you know. And I don't need defense up on him, so it kind of depends on what team I'm attacking and what I'm using. But he's being used every day on my account, Magnar.
Awesome. I love that guy. All right.
Dar the Hungerer, new reviver to the faction. He's actually pretty awesome. I got him on my free-to-play. I'm waiting to summon him during the fusion, so I'm getting those juicy points for the champion summoning tournament. But on the A2, reflect damage on all allies for 2 turns, 15% continuous heal, and heals all allies by 15% of their max HP, revives 2 random allies with 50% HP, and fills the turn meter by 50, and that's on a 4-turn cooldown. His aura is only for faction creeps. His A1, small chance to land the stun, but he only needs 8 books. My dream on champions. I love him. Good, decent base stats. Not the best HP and defense. Good speed. Definitely, I'll take him. Honestly, he's a good reviver.
I agree. And that revival's on a 4-turn cooldown too. Yeah, I think he's a solid champion.
Yeah.
All right, that's Demon Spawn.
And moving over to Undead. Jeez, we have a bunch of them in here. But starting with Gorgorab. What do you think about Gorgorab?
I think the Gorgorab is a very widely respected champion, and for good reasons. He is an AoE revival on a 5-turn cooldown. He has a turn meter, he has increased attack. He's just a good support champion, and he has the speed aura for arena battles, which he's known for being kind of an arena support reviver for that reason. So, good champion.
He's the OG. Like, guys, remember... I mean, don't remember, but if you see Arena now and you see Arbiters everywhere, that's how he used to be before we had Arbiter in the game. He was the king of Arena, OG champion. He carried me through a lot of stuff in the game. Seeker, another very powerful champion, very unique as well, guys. A lot of you are always asking, can I replace Seeker in Clan Boss with a Doom Screech? Unfortunately, you cannot, because he's so unique. He fills the turn meter, but grants an extra turn. That's what makes all these crazy Clan Boss teams running. This extra turn next to that increased turn meter, bringing it down to a 2-turn cooldown. And we have his crazy passive, heals the champion and places increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns when hit with a critical hit, making him amazing for go second arena teams as well.
Okay, fantastic. Agree. Seeker's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. He's one of the better epics in the game.
He is the GOAT.
Catacomb Counselor. He's the ally attack champion that nobody ever talks about, really. I guess Lady Atessa is really the ally attack champion that nobody talks about. But Catacomb Counselor, he's I would say, one of the lower echelon ally attacks in the game. He's not trash, but especially with why am I drawing up? Oh, Falconer and the Fat being added to the game. He's been a little bit power crept, but still a decent option for ally attack if you don't have anybody.
Absolutely, yeah. I gotta agree on that. Dark Atel, I'm about to get her, not tomorrow, the day after, on my free-to-play account. And I don't think I'm gonna use her anywhere. I don't have what to do with her. She looks awesome. Her kit seems like she might be doing some, especially with her AoE, decreased speed. Sounds like she might be good for the Spider, but she's not that great for the Spider, so probably she's gonna buy the Vault. Not very good base stats either on her. What do you think about her?
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of her. Never been a big fan. You know, 4-turn AoE, decreased speed, not crazy multipliers, not a crazy damage. Even though she has 2 AoE attacks, yeah, not a big fan.
Dark Elhain, different story.
I am a big fan. Yeah. I mean, Dark Elhain, I think, is a tremendous champion against Tormund in the arena. She can destroy, or against anybody who freezes, basically, because she is freeze proof. and your allies can't get frozen too. So Ice Golem, Frost Spider, you name it. She's a great damage dealer against any of those enemies. And she has just good multipliers overall.
Absolutely. She is an awesome champion. I gotta agree with that. Then Husk, I feel like he's a bit underrated as well.
Me too.
He's no Royal Guard, he's no Cold Heart, he's no Septimus, but he definitely has his place in the game. We have Provoke on the A1, we have tons of damage on the A2 enemy max HP, and we have a stun as well, AoE. And on the A3, damage increases according to this champion's current HP. Pretty good damage as well, so I'm running him in Faction Wars, running him on the Magma Dragon, and probably you could run him on the Dragon without a problem if you don't have a Royal Guard, you know? Overall, good champion.
Totally agree with you there. He's the most underrated enemy max HP champion in the game.
Absolutely, yeah. Karam.
Yeah. So Karambi used to be like a really big. So I've never built him, but I heard that this damage dealing from poisons instantly, his A3 right away. That was kind of an early like Xavier type move, right? But I think that he's fallen off a little bit.
Yeah.
How do you feel about him?
So he doesn't.
Did you build him?
I tried him out when the Doom Tower got released. I actually made a team with him that was more budgetish for some bosses. I can't even remember, but they quickly nerfed these and buffed the bosses with the passives. But he doesn't deal as much damage as Xavier with that skill for sure. He only brings 1 poison. And yeah, he's definitely super power creep. He needs a bit of a buff to add more poisons on the target or something to make him more viable.
Yeah. 100%. All right.
Leech.
Next up.
So Leech. Decrease the thermometer, decrease the speed. I'm not sure if I was meant to go or you were meant to go, sorry.
I think you're up.
So that's pretty good for Faction Wars, very powerful. He might be good even on other bosses, other things in the game. The A2 is kind of like underwhelming on a 3-turn cooldown. Single target, increase defense on himself. Heals a bit the champion. And on the A1, we have a 50% chance to land decrease accuracy, which makes him decent. I tried him on the Dreadnought or a Dreadnought boss, whatever he's called. He wasn't performing as good. Like, that chance was just not enough to land that accuracy and keep it down on the boss, you know, to decrease accuracy. The accuracy, sorry.
I'm not a huge fan just because his A3 is pretty sick. You know, decrease target's turn meter by 100% and decrease speed, but you know, I hate that A2. Like, you're wasting a whole turn on putting increased defense on yourself. Nah. All right. Hexia. Hexia, I feel like she is to me, kind of an underwhelming champion as well. I think that I heard that some people like her, but she's an attack champion. She does have decreased defense on her A1. It is a 40% chance, but it does increase for each debuff on her. But I'm not a big fan of those abilities that are so undependable, you know? Like, I want to know what I'm getting out of a champion, so I don't like those kind of stipulations. And then we have damage increasing, but it's one enemy. You know, if you kill an enemy, I hate those. She's the conditional queen. So overall, I think she needs a rework or a buff to her multipliers. Even though she has high base attack, I haven't seen her dealing like insane amounts of damage that justifies building her, at least.
Yeah, so I heard that she hits hard. I haven't tried her. She's kind of like my curse. I always used to get her from Sacred Shard, so I decided to stay away from her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Defiled...
Yeah, maybe we'll give her a shot, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll try her one day. Defiled Sinner. Now, I don't personally like this champion. Again, he's very kind of like dependable. His enemy max HP hit doesn't do damage because it cannot be critical, so I feel like he needs a rework because he's just not carrying it out for me, you know? I don't see him justified building him.
Nope, I'm with you. There's kind of a lot of good epics in Undead Horde. There's also a few like kind of underwhelming, I feel like.
Definitely.
Corpse Collector. So we have the Leech on the A1, which I like. We have an AoE with a heal reduction and decreased accuracy on the A2 on a 3-turn cooldown, which isn't bad. And then we have a 3-time at random with more poison here. So I think she's an average to slightly below average champion. We get a lot of poisons, which is nice. We have heal reduction, decreased accuracy, 2 debuffs that you don't find everywhere, but also 2 a little bit maybe lackluster debuffs. You know, at the end of the day, I don't know. She's fast, kind of weak base stats, not putting out a lot of damage. I guess she's like a decent progression option, but nothing beyond that.
Pretty much, yeah, I gotta agree with that. Then we have Massilium Mage.
There you go. I mean, all the good ones, Skratch.
Seems like. It's not much to say here, guys. Everybody loves him. Increased defense, block block debuffs, increase crit rate. Then we have cleanse, heal, and on the A1, decrease speed. Awesome, awesome champion. Build him if you get him. That's all that I can tell you.
All right, Zelota. He's kind of a cool champion. I think he used to be used way more often because there wasn't that many shield champions in the game. But I do think he's been power crept a lot. I think that can all be fixed if they just change that A2 where he has a shield and a continuous heal to a 3-turn cooldown. I think he would be an incredibly dependable shield champion in that regard. But now a shield, it is for 3 turns, but it's 20% of his max HP. I don't know. I guess for 3 turns, you might be able to get by, but I would love to see that buffed a little bit. And then we have a sleep on an AoE on a 6-turn underwhelming A3. So I think he's an average champion. Yeah,
he needs a bit of a buff. Just decrease the duration of cooldowns. I think that will do on him because he has good base stats and stuff. So he can definitely work. Vogot, I'm definitely getting all the good ones in this faction.
Yeah, you're getting all the good ones. It's official now.
So his A1 is good. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a chance to increase the duration of one random debuff. But then we have the A2, chance to land a provoke. And also has a 60% chance of placing a decrease attack on targets who receive the provoke. But then we have the passives, guys. This is kind of what makes him such a good champion. Heals all allies by 50% of the damage received whenever this champion is attacked. Heals a bit less on bosses, but overall, he's such a unique champion. Go second teams for arena. Go on bosses. He's just awesome. I love Vogot.
Yeah. He's a really, really good addition to the game. I agree with you for all those reasons. Balthus Droglord, next guy. He's got an AoE attack. His damage based on defense, which is good. Easy to keep alive. And then he has a provoke, but it is just a 1 enemy provoke. So, I don't know, 100% land on a 4-turn cooldown. I would love to have that as a 3-turn cooldown at the very least. Make him serviceable, I don't know, anywhere, somewhere. So, I think that he's just an average champion overall. He's not trash, but he's not my favorite champion that's been added this year.
Yeah, I feel like if that would be on a 3-turn cooldown or a 2-turn cooldown, we might be able to make him work on the Magma Dragon pretty good. On a 3-turn cooldown would actually be good, yeah. Decrease attack, decrease crit rate.
You're right, because it has the affinity there, yeah.
It would be good there, but not in this condition.
Yeah, indeed.
Anax, all right. Again a good one.
Another one! What the heck?
Defense down, we have weaken, decrease accuracy, poisons. His passive is just crazy. He deals tons and tons of damage, guys, on clan boss. Like, I was well impressed when I built him to try him out, to see what damage he can output. He fills up the poison bar alone on clan boss with the poisons. He's able to keep that up and running. Definitely a champion that I would recommend you to build 100%. His base speed is a bit low, and he's a bit tricky to use on some unkillable teams, but rather than that, he's an amazing champion.
Yeah, another tremendous addition. Another OP epic that was added this year. You got all the good ones in Undead, man. I agree with you 100%.
Moving over to the Dark Elves. I'm going to let you start from here. Maybe you're going to catch the good ones.
Yeah, maybe, right? Captain Tamilia. She's one of those champions that everybody kind of mentions. Like, hey, don't sleep on Captain Tamilia. She's got increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. She's got a heal. She's got the ally protect as well. I think she's like a decent support champion that no one ever talks about in this game. I think she's, average to maybe slightly above average if you need some support.
Yeah, I would rank her there as well, honestly. I wouldn't put her over it. Then we have Kaden. Pretty good addition to the faction as well as a reviver. We have a small chance of landing provoke on the A1. Decrease attack AoE on the A2, which makes him awesome. And then we have a revive on the A3 on a 2-turn cooldown. Revives to random allies with increased defense. Definitely a good addition for the faction as a reviver.
I agree. I think McCain's a real stud of a champion. So I agree with you. Dark Kale. Man, what can I say? No one has him yet, but he looks to be really, really good. He's extending, instantly activating poisons or HP burn on his A1. He has an AoE decrease attack, also increasing the duration of all debuffs on the target. And then he has poison and poison sensitivity. And yeah, man, to me, he seems like a super, super interesting poison activator champion.
Yeah, he's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to get him, actually. Then we have Gwyneth, or whatever you're gonna say her name. She is pretty interesting as well. I feel like nobody has her either yet, right? She comes kind of like a package.
She's after Dark Kale. And aesthetically, she's very pleasing.
Absolutely, I cannot disagree on that. And we
Yeah. What do you think about her? Or Kit, that is.
I was looking at the A1. That looks pretty interesting on a stun set for the Nether Spider. I feel like that will definitely be interesting. On the A2,
Yeah.
I think she's gonna be a Nether Spider specialist. Good
Yeah.
speed aura. The A3 seems pretty interesting to transfer the debuffs. I feel like she's gonna belong in the Nether Spider, honestly.
I think that you might be right there. I think that she could have some utility. She could be fun in like a retaliation set as well, because she won't trigger counterattacks. But then she can counterattack, all over the place. So pretty cool champion.
Yeah, definitely.
Not as excited about her as I am Dark Kale, though. Are you?
No.
Yeah. All right. Next up is, I think I'm up. Am I up on this one?
Yep, Spider.
Spider. So Spider's a champion that I feel like a lot of people talk about him a lot, right? But people use him mostly for Spider's dead. I've never built Spider personally. But he has the decrease the duration of all buffs. He has a decreased attack. Both on an AoE, and then he has a decreased defense with the weekend, a chance at placing the weekend, that is. But it's on a 5-turn cooldown. But if you're just looking for somebody, he's slow, so he can't be used like really in the arena. He can, but not optimal. But I think that overall for a Spider debuffer, I think you can go much worse. What do you think of Spider?
He's decent. If you don't have the top ones, Draco, Stag Knights, and all the rest, and you want to have a defense down and a weaken, the damage is pretty substantial, especially on enemy max HP hitters to have weaken as well. So he can do some work if you don't have anything else better than that.
It is the weak version of weaken, though, unfortunately.
It is, yeah. But he has a good speed aura.
He does.
Kind of compensates a bit for it. I wish his cooldowns were a bit smaller.
Yeah, because that could, if they changed that A3 just to a 5 to a 4, they could book down to a 4. I feel like then I feel like it's more realistic. But I feel like on a 5-turn cooldown,
it's just too long.
It's too long. It's too long, and he's a little too slow. So yeah, I'd say, I don't know. I think a lot of people like him though, but we'll see.
Ryan the Conjurer. Unfortunately, we are getting her too late. That's how I feel about her.
Yeah. Yeah, you're up anyway. You can finish your thoughts. I have some too.
But for whoever doesn't have a Madame Series or Prince Kaimar or Setalia, she can definitely do a lot of work. She pairs amazing with Marquez, with a rare champion, the defense nuker. That champion hits hard, guys. Definitely a good combo with the two of them. And she has the revive as well, man, if needed on the side there. She's good affinity as well, force affinity. She doesn't hit the enemy with the A2. So overall, I like her. She's not a bad champion, just we get her a bit too late. That's how I feel.
Agree. I think she's a really good champion, but you're right. It's hard not to make comparisons to Madame Ceres because she's doing a lot of the same things as Midnight Ritual as Madame Ceres is, or a Midnight Ritual with sweeping dismissal. But yeah, man, I think that it's cool to have a Reviver who's also a weaken layer with a buff stripper. However, I agree with you. She's not as good as Madame. She's different, though. If you need a Reviver, sure, go.
Absolutely. What do you think about Ludia?
Ludia. I think she is the highest freeze you can get from an AoE attack that's non-legendary in the game, so that's something on their A2. I think she's a good crowd control champion. She's a pretty good champion overall.
Yeah, decent, definitely.
I'm not saying she's like S tier, but I think that she could do a lot worse,
Absolutely.
She has a block revival, too. Does she hit really hard on that A2 Mark of Fear? I have not built Ludia.
No, not really. Not that hard, honestly.
Kind of awkward to have a block revive on an ability that's not going to be killing that many enemies.
I mean, they made a lot of
better than not having it, right?
They made a lot of bad OG champions. Then we have Crimson Helm, guys. We have revive on that, increased defense, provoke, block damage, and on the A1 we have a decreased attack. Decent champion. She can do some work in the Doom Tower if you have her and you're willing to manual quite a bit. She looks awesome as well. She's a decent champion. I wouldn't say she's amazing, but decent.
Yeah, I agree with you. She helps me out a lot in my free to play. She's super slow, but I love her A3 Unguard ability is really solid. Warden. This is the OG of a dude who likes to read all the time, Skratch, man. He was like the old school, why does this guy have so many books on him? Now they make him all over the place, but this guy was like, why does he have so many books? I am not a huge fan of him, honestly. He has, at first glance, you're like, okay, he could be good. He could be kind of good. But he does have 2 AoEs, one on 3 turn, one on a 4 turn, which is nice, I guess, if you want a double AoE, maybe in a stun set or something. But the rest of his kit, for me, again, we talked about reflect damage on the Terror Beast. It's not like it is super insane ability unless Fire Knight. So I guess outside of Fire Knight, I don't really see a huge utility for this champion.
Yep, I gotta agree with you. I wouldn't personally build him, honestly.
Yeah, same. You can do way better for your epic books, guys. And you need to book them. That's the thing, right?
Hell yeah. And same with Delver. Here she is as well. I feel like they need a bit of love. Heal reduction, attacks one enemy, attacks all enemies, places increased attack buff on this champion before attacking. I feel like she's just not cutting it. I know it says if the target has weakened, places a defense down, but I'm just not feeling it. You gotta use this skill, use that skill, and super slow, mediocre.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, Fang Cleric. It's funny, man. We're talking about all these champions who could use buffs, but really, they never buff. Like they rarely buff epics. Man, we saw like 12 legendary buffs this last balance change, and they touched 2 epics. And they were both kind of nerfs, right? And it's just like, come on, man. There's so many great epics that they can make compelling with just touching them a little bit. But Fang Cleric, I actually think he's a little bit underrated, believe it or not. He has speed in all battles by 15%, which is not bad. He has a good revival, which is unkillable buff on the target who's revived on a 4-turn cooldown, with a continuous heal for 2 turns. So they're not going to be killed because of the unkillable, and they get healed up over the next 2 turns. So it's really solid revive. And then he has either a veil or a turn meter fill and a heal, depending on how much HP they have after the heal on a 2-turn cooldown. So I think you could do a lot worse. And he's fast, 105 base speed. You could do a lot worse out of a reviver.
He's awesome on a reflex set because you can use the skills, the 8-2 and 8-3 more often. And here we start for Dark Elves.
Yeah, 3 to go, man. 3 to go.
Let's kick it. Night Revenants.
Right.
Oof.
A lot of epics here. All right, let's go through it. You're up first here.
Crypt Witch. So I feel like she's pretty mediocre as well. On the A1, attacks one enemy, will ignore shield and block damage. Attacks 2 times at random. I hate those attacks at randoms and just the defense down. Man. And attacks one enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's defense if the target is faster than this champion. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this, you know.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I think she needs a buff or something, you know.
What do you think about Pitiless One?
I think Pitiless One also needs a buff. Another kind of mediocre champion, in my opinion. He's kind of slow. He's very squishy, very low defense. He does have cool turn meter fill, which makes him very, very viable as a damage dealer in early game Spider. But outside of that, even mid game Spider, but outside of that, once you start getting to maybe stage, I don't know, 15, 16, I think that he tails off pretty quickly. So I'm overall kind of underwhelmed with him as well.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Necro Hunter. He was actually used for a fusion, but attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 50% chance to land defense down. Attacks one enemy. 50% chance of attacking all enemies with an extra hit. Okay, let's just say it. And then attacks one enemy, places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns if the attack is critical. Again, he's kind of like mediocre. I wouldn't really put him anywhere higher than that.
Yeah, I agree. Do not invest. Miscreate Monster. Finally, I got a good one, man.
I know, huh?
Going back to Halloween of 2019 when he entered the game. He's a beast, man. I won't go through his entire kit because he has a lot to talk about, but he has Ally Protect. He's a good support champion with Ally Protect and an OP shield, especially the more mobs that you're attacking, but just overall, it does a lot of damage. His damage is based on HP. He has a lot of HP. He has stuns. He has shields. He has all kinds of stuff. He has fear on his passive overall, and a really, really class act, tremendous epic champion, one of the best in the game.
Absolutely, I gotta give that to him. Then we have Grave Dirt. I think he's on the 10x. He's a mediocre champion. AoE, heal reduction, shield strengthen on the allies. That's on a 3-turn cooldown. That's a good skill overall. And he's immune to fear, true fear. Mediocre, decent. I wouldn't really put him much higher than that though.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting champion. You know, like I like that passive. It's kind of cool. Whenever an ally's HP drops below 50%, it will automatic or has a 50% chance of placing a fear debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. And that has no cooldown, so it just happens every turn. I think it's cool, but I don't think it's, OP or anything like game breaking or anything like that. But kind of a unique champion add to the game, so pretty cool.
Definitely.
Sinesha. Sentinel's just one of the OGs, but she's still really, really good. I relied on her so heavily to get through Faction Wars in a stun set with that A1. She can, do a great job on stuns again. It's kind of the opposite of Skullcrown's A1, where hers places an extra hit on enemies with more than 50% HP, and hers does less. And then she has 2 great heals, heal on the A2 with an attack as well. And then that Immortality, the A3, is a really, really insane heal. You can basically fully heal your entire team.
Absolutely. She is a very powerful champion. Doom Priest, another amazing champion. The passive is a very powerful one, guys. Removes one random debuff from them at the start of this champion's turn. I have her on the free-to-play account. She is amazing. Increased attack, increased crit rate on the A1 just randomly. And we have an increased speed for force allies in all battles by 15%. Pretty good base stats. Doom Priest is definitely an awesome, awesome champion.
Yep, I agree. Temperature Sentinel is another awesome champion. She's great for clan boss. She's really great support champion for anywhere. She does have increased defense and block debuffs for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. She has decreased attack on her A1, and then she has that chance of blocking damage on her passive, which can come in handy as well, although it only does affect 1 ally per, attack, per AoE attack. But that being said, she's still, class act, one of the upper echelon when it comes to, I guess clan boss support carries inside the game. Her, Tyrell, Sandlash Survivor, a couple others as well.
100%. She is amazing. I love that passive. So unique.
Yeah.
Rector Dread, awesome reviver. Super good healer, guys. Her animations are slow, but she is such a powerful champion. Crazy good heals. Amazing for the Doom Tower. Amazing for Arena. She is the right affinity as well. Base stats are pretty good as well. Definitely a must build if you own the champion, guys.
1000%. She's one of the better epic champions out there. She's very fast too, 109 base speed. Thylesia, a brand new champion just add to the game. I'm a big fan of her. I haven't heard your opinion yet on her, but she has a deep rest spread in her A1. She increased the duration of all debuffs on all enemies by 1 turn, which in turn increases her decreased defense from a 3-turn or from lasting 2 turns to lasting 3 turns, because she'll open up with her A3, she'll go into the A2, and then she has that Hex chance as well on her passive. So overall, I think she deals a lot of damage as well. Great multipliers on her abilities. I think 3.7 multiplier on both of her AoE attacks. So very, very solid.
That's awesome. I haven't looked that much into it, but I've seen you made a video recently on the champion, actually.
Yeah, she's good. She's good. All right. Speaking of not good.
Deathless, exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, she can hit pretty good, guys, with that skill once all your team is dead, but that's it. It's very hard to make it work. She needs a bit of a rework overall as a champion. She's pretty slow as well. I feel like she just doesn't belong here, you know?
Yep, I agree. She's conceptually she's pretty interesting, but in practicality, I don't think she's that good. I mean, I built her, I tried her, I don't like her at all. Even that A3, and we can talk about the same thing when we go to Kaitis, the next champion too, is their like big, hard-hitting, unique abilities just don't do enough damage now in the game, years later, to prove worth building them, to make them viable, in my opinion. And the same thing with Kaitis. I built both Kaitis and Deathless, hoping for insane damage, and both of them really kind of let me down. In Kaitis, some people say that he can, deal a ton of damage in the arena if all the situations are right, but I just didn't see it. I don't recommend building Kaitis either.
He can only if you run him with Cardial, which that team is kind of dead. It's not working anymore. So, yeah, he's just expired as well, honestly. Bergo the Malformed, he's on the 10x as well, I think. I don't like the champion. I feel like his heal is not powerful enough. And, I don't know, small chance to then provoke AoE, which is decent because it's AoE, but I feel like he's just not bringing in enough, honestly.
Yeah, it's a 4-turn. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, and it's a 60% chance. I don't know. And then Vogoth really just shows him up. I feel like he's you can do a lot better than Bergoth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Pestilence, he does have the leech on the A1, which is nice. He has HP burn on his A2 and a heal. And on the A3 has increased accuracy and crit damage. So 2 kind of rare to find AoE buffs on his A3 makes him worth taking a look at, especially if you're lacking accuracy or you just want to give a boost of crit damage to your team as well. So I think that he's an overall a pretty above average champion.
Yeah, and he looks pretty cool. I love this assassin sort of look on him. And that kind of closes the Night Revenants faction. We have 2 more factions left. And we are going on the Dwarves, guys. Grizzle Jarl. I feel like he was such a powerful champion. He's still decent, but I feel like he got a bit power creeped as well. On the A1, heal reduction, not great for clan boss. What kind of made him was the A2, increased defense and block debuffs for clan boss, guys. That's on a 3-turn cooldown. The block debuffs is only for 1 turn, so that's the reason why he got a bit power creeped. If that would be on a 2-turn cooldown, that would make him amazing, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Grizzly Jarl is still a champion that you can get a lot of utility out of. I mean, anybody who's not endgame already, I think that you could use Grizzly Jarl in a lot of different teams. Because, again, the increased defense on a 3-turn with the block debuffs, even it is 1 turn, which is a bummer, but even having the AoE decreased attack on top of that, being defense base, easy to keep alive, I think that, you could do a lot worse, but I do agree that, especially endgame, you're really looking for that block debuffs to be 2 turns.
Yeah, so he's definitely above average as a champion, 100%.
Yes. Cornelia, I just built her, and I haven't really tried her out enough yet, but boy, what an interesting and unique champion. She's super, super fast. On her A1, she has increased the cooldown of one of the target skills by 2 turns. Okay. On the A2, though, she has a sleep on everybody, right? And then the passive is whenever an enemy loses a sleep debuff placed by this skill, has a 75% chance when but replacing it with a fear debuff. That's kind of cool. So she could, in theory, just keep CCing the enemy team over and over again. I think she's a pretty interesting champion. I have not tried her out yet, though, so I can't really speak to her. She does have that revitalizing rest, which a sleep on an ally with a heal, turn meter fill, and then heals them again if that sleep gets lost due to taking damage from an enemy. And that's on a 2-turn cooldown. So, have you tried her out, Skratch?
She can kick in a lot of heals with that skill. Actually, she's a pretty nice champion. I have her on the free-to-play. I haven't built her yet at the 60, but definitely a champion that I'm gonna build on my free-to-play. I kind of like her, honestly. I like the speed aura as well.
Yeah, speed aura. Yeah, I can't wait to try her out.
Rearguard Sergeant, she is an awesome champion. I actually got her on my free-to-play. I even forgot about her, man. I have defense down on the A1, I have decreased attack AoE, and we have ally protection and continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown. Pretty good aura as well, is only for force champions, good base stats. I love Rearguard Sergeant. She is a strong champion, and I completely forgot that I pulled her on the free-to-play account a while ago. Damn.
I think that Rearguard, I love her too. I think she's a tremendous champion, but I almost feel like you give her that increased defense in all battles aura, that 25% Sepultura, Sandlast, and Tyrell, and I feel like she doesn't need that. She's already great, but I feel like she deserves that, to put her in that upper echelon with Sepultura, Sentinel, and those other champions. Do you disagree?
No, not at all. Actually, I agree on that.
Okay, Geomancer. He is a beast, but so I have not really delved into him after the nerf / buff / whatever it was. I saw him dealing billions of damage, right, when they broke him. But, everybody knows him as being one of the best HP burns in the game, and dealing just an absurd amount of damage. One of my favorite champions. But talk to me a little bit, Skratch. Do you have a good understanding of, was this, at the end of the day, was it a nerf or a buff?
So, I see
people saying both things.
Yeah, it was both of them. So, it was a buff in terms of damage. So now you don't need masteries on him to deal that crazy damage. You don't need Giant Slayer for his passive to proc you 60-70k per hit, because he can do that already without having any masteries on him. But he doesn't heal from his passive anymore. So now you're gonna need him on lifesteal sets, same like the rest of your team, if you wanna keep him alive on a non-unkillable team. Which is not the end of the world, because somehow you gotta sustain the rest of your champions as well. So it means that you need 1 extra lifesteal set on this champion. So I feel why people got upset on it, because everyone was used to keep him alive and use him on different sets rather than lifesteal gear, and that was, for a lot of people, was actually very important, because you need the accuracy, you need the stats on him, and I understand why people got a bit upset with Geomancer,
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thanks for the breakdown.
Not a problem. Then we have Rock Breaker, fun champion. I like him on a stun set because he provokes, he counterattacks, and stuns them. You know, and it's kind of repeating that cycle. I think he's a fun champion. He's not like God tier champion, but he's definitely a champion that you can have a stupid fun with it. You know, that's how I feel about him.
Yeah, man, this guy was like paramount for me to getting through Faction Wars, man, because I didn't have at the time. I did not have a I didn't have Torment, you know. So I was really struggling to get through that red boss on stage 21, and he helped me out because of that Ironhide passive. So shout to, I think J Gigs is who I first saw that video on. But either way, I was really struggling. This is like whatever, a year and a half ago, and I was like, there's gonna be a strategy. I'm like Rock Breaker, and he was the missing piece for me. So I'll always love him for that reason.
Definitely awesome champion. Then we have Melga Stilgirdle, awesome reviver as well. Great addition to this faction, guys, because it was quite a bit of a struggle to deal with that boss. She's great for the Scarab King as well. She revives, she places a shield on the 2 random allies when she revives them. We have a shield and we have continuous heal, and that's about it on the A2 from her. And we have a decent HP aura for all battles. She has pretty good base stats, good affinity as well. So I feel like she's a awesome champion, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Great addition to the game too. Fodboard the Bard. A lot of people like this dude. I do not, man. I'm just gonna be real with you. He has heal reduction on the A1, whatever. He has a stun on the A2, single target on 3-turn cooldown, and then he has an AoE decreased defense on a 4-turn cooldown. So why do people love him so much?
I'm not sure. I'm not a big fan of him. The A1 makes sense for the Fire Knight, but that's it. You know?
Yeah. I'm not a big. He doesn't have a lot of defense. He's kind of squishy. I'm just not a big fan of this guy. I guess the only argument one could make is that we needed a good decreased defense champion for Faction Wars for people who don't have like Herndig, you know. But that's about it for me.
Yeah, he's decent there, but not amazing, especially on the last boss there. I feel like that's pretty dangerous there, you know.
Yeah, I agree. All right, only one more faction left, Skratch.
Shadow King, and we have Toragi the Frog. Awesome champion as well, man. He can do so much. We have a decreased attack. Not reliable enough as a decreased attack champion, but he can fill the role as a secondary one in your team. Then we have Provoke AoE on the A2. We have Shield buff, Ally protection on the A3. We have a reflect damage on this champion. We have a bit of a heal. So much stuff going on, and the passive drops a poison whenever the champion is hit. So pretty good base stats. I like the champion, good for clan boss, just overall an awesome champion.
Absolutely agree with you, man. This guy can put out a staggering amount of damage. Like, you're not ready for it sometimes, but yeah, I'm a big fan of the Frogman. Hatasu, man, he's a really good champion, I think. He's defense based. He does require 1 billion books on the A1 and A2. Luckily, A3 is only 1 book, but I guess that's not that lucky when you're dealing with 9 levels on his A1. He is defense based. He plays a leech on the A1. So he's healing on the A1. He has decreased attack on the A2. And then he has increased defense and a continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown on the A3. So he's really supporting you in so many different ways, between the leech, the decreased attack, the decreased defense, or the increased defense. And then he has remove 1 random debuff from the start of this champion at the start of each turn, prioritizing the crowd control debuffs. So I think all things considered, this guy is like a really solid champion, and he has the defense in all battles by 25%.
Yeah, everything is amazing. With his passive is a bit of a oof, because if you take him in clan boss, he's gonna land poison before the stun, and his passive comes in play, and his passive kills the stun, so he's not a good stun target. But rather than that,
yeah,
he's not a bad champion.
Yep.
Then we have Chani. I can't even remember much about her, but we have poison sensitivity on the A1. Then we have increased accuracy, increased attack on this champion for 2 turns, then attacks, HP burn for 2 turns if this attack is critical, AoE. And we have a 50% chance of increasing the duration of all debuffs by 1 turn. Immune to decreased accuracy debuffs. Increases this champion's crit rate by 0.05 for every point of accuracy they have. Interesting passive. Average champion. I don't really feel like she brings you a lot of utility on your account. And she needs quite a few books to make her decent.
Yeah, I feel like she's interesting. She's cool. She has poison sensitivity on the A1, which is helpful. And then I like that she can increase the duration of all debuffs on a 75% chance on a 3-turn cooldown. But other than that, I think she's like an above average, but very slightly champion personally.
Yep. And
All right. Sachi. She is. I have not built Sachi, so have you?
I try her out. I like her. Like
Yeah,
why you
she
cannot
does some
like about
damage,
her?
right?
Yeah, she does.
I know, right? Yeah. She does some damage. She got the AoE decreased accuracy on the A1. That's a really nice A1 ability. And then what does she have? The leech, decreased crit rate, and then the fill a turn meter of allows by 20% if the attack is critical on a 3-turn cooldown. I guess it's okay. I was really looking for another AoE attack in her kit, but you like her anyway, huh?
Yeah, she's decent. She's not like, wow, I gotta build her. She's gonna change everything on my account, but she's a good champion to use, you know.
She has that revival passive, kind of cool too. And the fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn whenever an ally is revived. A cool champion, but not like OP.
Exactly. Fanshi, he is okayish. Triple hitter, decrease speed on the A1. Triple hitter on the A2, fills a bit the turn meter. Decrease the turn meter, sorry. With each hit, has a small chance of doing that. And we have poisons on the A3. I try him on Clan Boss, I try him on Fire Knight. He's not like God tier for any of them places, but he's good enough, especially for the Fire Knight. Is a pretty good skill kit to have 6 hits from 2 different skills, you know. So definitely a champion. If you need him for the Fire Knight, you can count on him to do some work for you there, you know.
Yeah, he's so squishy, man. Like
that's the problem with him.
Low HP, so low on defense. And I've learned, you know, because I get excited every time I see a champion with a bunch of 3-time hitters, you know, in their kit. And granted, one of them's on a 2-turn cooldown, which is pretty cool. And then you said it best, man. Like when you actually take them into the arena or into wherever the dungeons, like often, at least in my experience, I've been underwhelmed more than I've been like, wow, this is great, you know, on these single target, even if they're hitting multiple times. But that's just been me.
I agree on it, yeah. Like I wouldn't build him on my main account for anything, honestly.
Yeah. Next up is Geary. I think he's a pretty solid champion. He's slow. He's a defense-based champion. He has an AoE stun at a 60% shot on a 3-turn cooldown, which is really good, actually, for an epic champion especially. And then he has a strengthen and a shield on all allies on a 4-turn cooldown. Now, we'd love to have this on a 3-turn cooldown. Then it would be like really, really, you know, A tier. But I think he's definitely above average, and he's worth building if you need some support. He also has a healing himself by 50% of his HP whenever an ally or an enemy dies. So a nice kind of built-in keep him alive mechanic to help support your team as well.
Definitely. I feel like he has the sweet spot for that bomb boss that everybody hates. He's definitely awesome for that. Then we have Konoro. Man, I love the looks of this champion, but I can't justify to build a champion with the kit she has. So, single target on the A1, 3 times at random, a chance to land the weaken, and then removes all increased defense and attacks all enemies. So, I just don't feel it, you know. Base stats are not amazing. She's squishy. Rather than her looking awesome.
She sucks.
Yeah, basically.
She sucks. And you know what's even worse about her, dude, is that she this is what they give to new players, like, you know, the download codes and all the advertisements they run. They always give a free copy of Shinaru, and when they give a free copy of any champion, it's always like kind of a trashy champion. They rarely ever do good ones, so it's a telltale kind of curse of Plarium if they start giving her out on all the advertisements. And for the last basically since she's been in the game, she's always been the free champion that people get. So I think she's trash.
It's just because she looks awesome. That's why I can understand it from that point of view.
I think so. It has nothing to do with Plarium wanting the people to upgrade her or anything like that. Upgrade a crappy champion. Gory. If I recall correctly, I was very unimpressed with his kit. And now that I look at it, he has a 3-time freeze on his A2. And his A3 is 1 enemy ignoring, some stuff with a counterattack on himself. If it kills an enemy, I am not impressed. Again, I'm not impressed by single target damage dealers unless they're bringing something really extra to the table. And, he does have a counterattack built in on his passive, which is pretty cool, the dignity ability. But other than that, I don't know. You pair him with a freeze champion, you might get some damage, but he's slow. And yeah, I'm just not super enthused about him.
Yeah, I feel the same. He might be performing a bit decent in Faction Wars, but that's about it. Then we have the last one, guys. Jin, HP-based champion. Man, I tested him and I'm not excited. Like, no, honestly, I wouldn't recommend you to build this champion, guys. Honestly, he doesn't do much damage, even though he looks like, oh, he's gonna hit hard with everything that's in his kit. Blah, blah, blah. We have the provoke, we have the shield. He's just not doing much. Decrease attack on the A1 might be the best thing you get out of him, honestly.
Yeah.
That's about it with this champion.
Yeah, I mean, for the red boss on stage 21 of Faction Wars, if you need that decreased attack, maybe. But I'm with you, man. I would not build him either.
I don't feel it personally. But guys,
all right, we did it.
We've done it. Finally, second part is here, guys. I know we kept you waiting for quite a bit. Apologies. I do appreciate all of you guys watching. Make sure you head over to Ash's channel as well. We actually have a video that maybe it dropped already. Much love. Appreciate you being here, Ash, and I'll catch you all soon. Peace.
Thanks, Skratch. Bye, guys.